There are no good people in this world.
Yeah.
You can trust no one.
Yeah,
You could trust no one.
He was doing some bad stuff.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Popcorn Bucket List. We got a big episode here today. We're going to start things off with a new segment alert. Well, it's not technically It's not technically a new segment. We've done this before. We're just kind of naming it finally.
That's
I guess
true.
is what we're saying.
Yeah.
We're introducing PBN, Popcorn Bucket News.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
That's not the official sound we're going to use for that. Or maybe it will. I don't know. It depends on how much time I put into this afterwards. Anyways, yeah, we're gonna use this. It's not going to be every week, but if there's a big news story that we feel like is going to impact movies, and if we can kind of do it as factually as possible.
Yes.
Because I know I've done things, not done enough research on it, personally.
We want to stick to the facts.
Like for example,
Facts.
last week when we talked about SnyderCon, I talked about how it was his big ego and all that. Well, then like the day we posted the episode, it was released that he's doing it for charity. So that's egg on my face. I was wrong on that one. I didn't do enough research on that one, so I do apologize. One of the few times Nick is admitting here, get it on my camera here. This is one of the few times Nick was wrong. He was wrong, and he apologizes for that. So,
And we will have that forever.
we will, except I'll delete that footage. But the big news here that we're talking about, it was a big thing over this weekend. Jonathan Majors was arrested early Saturday, I should say, for a domestic dispute. At this point, we'll kind of go over some of what we know, and we will speculate a little bit what kind of scenarios may come out of this.
Yes.
However, just kind of talking about what we know, he was later released Saturday evening on a restraining order. It was over, like I said, a domestic dispute. The accuser, an unidentified female, was treated for minor head and neck injuries at a hospital. This according to the NYPD. For those of you who don't know, Jonathan Majors, kind of the reason why we're talking about this is being a big story. He's got one of the biggest meteoric rises in Hollywood right now that we've seen in a long time.
100%.
Already 2 movies that have made millions and millions of dollars. Just this year alone, he was cast as Kang the Conqueror in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. For those of you who don't know, he is going to essentially be the big bad here for the next few decade, maybe, I guess.
Yeah.
At least.
I would say at least 5 years, at least.
At least, yes. So at this point, Jonathan Majors' lawyers have vehemently denied the allegations, saying that there's video evidence to prove Majors' innocence. At this point, they have not released said video, which at first I thought was kind of iffy, but I'm actually glad they did this. Save it for the trial. The last thing you need is for people to make speculative things.
Yep.
Let's save it for the trial. Speaking of which, at this point, a trial date has been set for May 8th. So probably not a lot of information after this coming out. But also, at this point, the accuser has reportedly recanted the statements as well. So I'm curious to see what that does in the near future. But obviously, this is a very, very messy situation. And one of those where there's essentially no win here, if you ask me.
And I also think it's important to point out that Jonathan Majors was the one who called the police. He was the one that made the phone call to the police about the that his female friend was having some problems and asked for the police to come. So I think that kind of also blends into the murkiness of this whole situation. And obviously, we just want everybody to be okay. We want but we want to figure out what actually happened. And that is going to take time, like you said, which I think is why they're not putting out that video. And they're going to wait till, all right, things are calmed down a little bit. Everything, let's get into the court process, see how it goes. And that's kind of where I'm sitting at with that.
But that is what we know so far. Obviously, we will update the situation when we know something for sure. But again, unless some huge revelation comes out recently, I don't think we're going to get a big update on this story till May 8th when the trial happens. But let's move on to something a little bit lighter here. This was the original opening topic we were going to have. I was doing some research. This March 30th marks the 35th anniversary of the release of Beetlejuice.
Mm-hmm.
And that got me thinking, made me thinking about Tim Burton with that. And I mean, with the success of Wednesday recently, this man has had a very long career with some ups and downs, but with everything going on, I don't think it's slowing down here anytime soon.
Not at all.
So go ahead.
I was going to say, especially like the last time I remember talking about Tim Burton was with Dumbo. And it was kind of like, ooh, this isn't good.
But he always found a way to bounce back.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You look throughout his career and it's like, oh man, these are great.
Some great films.
Oh, that was, wow, what was that? And then it was like, whoa, this is great. What were you doing here? Wow, this is great. Like, he always found a way to bounce back. So let's look at his career a little bit here. He's mainly known for, I would say, arguably very spooky, maybe macabre stories is kind of the best way to do it. Sort of darker. Not only in story, but in tone, in lighting, and the aesthetic of his films. Yes. Yeah. So you would be very surprised to know that one of his big directorial debuts, Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yep.
Watch Pee-wee's Big Adventure and think to yourself, this is going to be the guy who directs Nightmare Before Christmas or reinvents the Addams Family or, makes Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah.
I mean, but hey, you got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere. It's all you got to get your foot in the door.
Yep. And get his foot in the door he did, as 3 years later he would make Beetlejuice. Obviously the thing that really brought him onto the scene here. What do you think of Beetlejuice, looking back on it 35 years from now?
I've seen this film a few times, and whenever it's on TV, I always watched it. And then actually when I was doing some theater stuff, we'd looked at some of the theatrical design for Beetlejuice, and then it kind of got me back into wanting to watch the movie again or sing some of the songs. But no, it was great. Michael Keaton was great. Everybody was great.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Let's take a quick break here and talk about the Marshall 6 Theater here in Marshall, Minnesota. They've got tons of great concessions to snack on while you're going to check out a movie at the theater. So make sure you get there early, get the snacks that you need, the refreshments, the drinks, all that fun stuff. And then make sure you also check out their website to make sure you get proper information on showtimes and some special deals. They've got Tuesday night discounts as well as Thursday night discounts. So you're going to want to check out their website, their Facebook page, all the fun stuff to make sure you know what's coming up and when to check them out. That's the Marshall 6 Theater here in Marshall, Minnesota.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Speaking of Michael Keaton, I'm glad that's a great segue for me. Thanks for setting me up on that.
I got you.
Yep. I'm going to talk about Batman.
Who y'all talking about, Batman? Yeah, man.
1989 Batman. Obviously a huge thing for his career, but also such a huge thing for comic book movies. Up at this point, the main thing people knew of Batman was the 60s version.
Yep.
And finally, the 80s was when he started getting kind of back to the Dark Knight that we know of in the comics. And then finally, 1989 was the big screen debut. You want to talk about Michael Keaton. People hated this casting beforehand because he was mainly known for comedy. He was known for Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
You talk about, if you told me Michael Keaton was cast in a movie that featured Batman and the Joker, and one of the main things I had seen him in was Beetlejuice, I'm like, oh, so Michael Keaton's the Joker. No, he's Batman.
He's Batman.
And that's insane to me. I'm trying to even think of a comparison of what that would be like today. And if I had prepped a little bit more, I maybe could have, but I can't come up with one right now, so I'm probably going to cut this. But, this was a big moment, obviously, for him and for comic book movies. But we talk about that whole up and down thing. You have this movie, and then Batman Returns.
Yep.
I defend Batman Returns a little bit. I enjoy it. But to those who don't like it, I get it. It's hard to go from the serious darkness of Batman to the almost scary darkness of Batman Returns. I mean, Danny DeVito, one of the nicest guy ever, bites a dude's nose off.
Yeah.
Straight up bites the dude's nose off.
Danny DeVito's the man.
There's a reason why McDonald's pulled their marketing here, but yeah, that's those are some of the big ones here. Is there another one that you, out of all Tim Burton's catalog, that's one that really sticks out to you? That's kind of a favorite.
Yeah, I would say Sweeney Todd. I am kind of a sucker for musicals. I really enjoy them. And obviously with Johnny Depp and the tone and the dark and the scariness of it, I really, really like it. I remember when it first came out, I didn't really know what to expect because at that point I'd only seen a film version or a filming of the stage show Sweeney Todd, which was very cool. I can't remember the title or the word for this type of theater where it was you could see the catwalk and you could see like the corners of the stage and what's back and you could see people walking around and they didn't drop the curtain or go to black when they changed scenes and so that movie kind of holds a special spot for me. And then when I saw they were coming out with a new one, I really wanted to see it and it blew me away too and it was awesome.
But let's talk about some of his lesser-known projects as well. Kind of go deep into his IMDb here. One that stuck out to me, and I apologize if I'm stealing this one from you, the movie Big Eyes. This is something he directed and produced, I believe. This is the movie with Christoph Waltz and Amy Adams. The main thing you'll notice here is there wasn't a lot of times that they went for Academy Awards, I think, with a lot of his movies. Mm-hmm. Maybe a few of them should have been, but this one was an Academy Best Picture nominee, I believe.
Yep.
But the number one thing that is noticeable to me on this one is this is probably the brightest color of all of his movies. This one is like the nicest, like it's very blue and very like bright. Mm-hmm. It's so different from what he usually does. And it's also like a biopic, which is also another thing he's very rarely known to do. He's usually a lot of his own original stories, or he takes original stories and kind of reimagines them. So I was very surprised to see that was on his IMDb as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like you said, I've seen Big Eyes, and I agree with you 100%. It's very different from everything else he's done. And like you said, he always, maybe not saying it was a bomb, but he always kind of finds a way back and gets back into his rhythm.
So how about you? Was there any other lesser-known ones, whether it was part of his producing, writing, anything like that, that was like, wow, he did that one? He was a part of that one?
Yeah, nothing really. I think I've been a fan of Tim Burton. I've kind of liked his stuff. To me, there hasn't been any. I would say, if anything, Dumbo. That was kind of a new take on a Disney film. Like, that was kind of a
not-so-great take on a Disney film.
Yeah. So, other than that, no, not really.
So, yeah, that is the man, the myth, the legend, Tim Burton. Been going on for over 30 years, nearly 40 years now. And
I believe they're in production for Beetlejuice 2.
This is also true. Yes. Kind of full circle.
Yep.
He's still going strong as far as I'm concerned. I think he's a little underrated as a director. And I'm not even the biggest fan of a lot of his stuff, but he's clearly got some talent there.
Yes.
But let's talk about what's coming out this weekend. It's time for the weekly preview. As we're getting closer and closer to summer months, we're starting to see a little bit more of those box office blockbusters.
Yep.
Looking forward here. It's going to be a fun June. I'm getting way ahead of myself. It's going to be a fun June. But let's talk about March here first. The last weekend in March, Friday, March 31st. First things first, Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. This is coming straight to theaters. Based on the fantasy tabletop role-playing game, but really only in name only, because every story obviously is different when you play Dungeons & Dragons. This movie is starring Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, Justice Smith, and Hugh Grant, just to name a few.
Yep.
Hey, I got a question for you. Have you ever wanted to see a heist movie with improbable stunts, reality-bending action, and an undead army? Oh, wait, no. Hold up. I got that mixed up with my Fast and the Furious trailer here. Okay, hold up. Sorry. Michelle Rodriguez got me confused there. But on a serious note here, this one is sort of a heist movie with magic and cool creatures and possibly the apocalypse.
Yep.
For one, I love a heist movie. I do. So adding that sort of, you've got these magical battle axes and spell casting, and it's kind of cool to me. I like that.
Yeah. I have to agree. I'm excited for it. I have been recently playing the game Age of Mythology, and that's really sparked that interest back again in mythology and creatures and that mythical stuff. So I'm pretty pumped for that. I think it's going to be good. Hopefully it's going to be. It looks kind of cheesy, but I still want to see it.
Yeah. I'm also just kind of excited for this because I'm just excited for an action movie starring Michelle Rodriguez that isn't Fast and Furious.
Movie. Yeah.
And so I'm glad that she's hopefully in a better franchise because she deserves it.
Better, hopefully better.
Hopefully better. Even if it's
bar's
bad.
not that high.
That's true.
The bar's not that high.
It'll be better. It'll be better. Hey, we talk a lot about movies on this channel, but sometimes the ones we talk about aren't the most accessible. That's where the Marshall-Lyon County Library comes in handy. They have a great collection of physical media, as well as a couple of online services with many, many options for movies, TV shows, and documentaries. It's easy. Just get your own library card at the Marshall-Lyon County Library and gain access to their large variety of movies, TV shows, and of course, books. Also, be sure to check back every month as we here at Popcorn Bucket List make specific movie recommendations based on a monthly theme. This month, we're focusing on the greatest Best Picture winners of all time. So head on over to the Marshall-Lyon County Library for some of our favorites and check out the channel to get even more movie recommendations. And now, on with the show! Also coming out this weekend to Apple TV Plus, we're talking about Tetris. There's not a person on this earth who I believe hasn't at least heard of, if not played the game Tetris. This guy, Hank Rogers, he may be the reason why. Yep. Actually, not maybe. He is the reason why. For those of you who don't know, Tetris was a Russian game in the 1980s. Russia and U.S. in the 1980s.
Not friends.
Not very simpatico. Similar to today.
Yeah. Call back to today. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just call it a throwback. It's not international tensions. It's a throwback to the 80s.
Yeah, there we
That's
go.
what we'll call it. So I'd actually heard a little bit about this story in a documentary about the 1980s, where basically this guy had to go into Moscow in the middle of the 1980s when the KGB run everything and try and find a way to get this game Tetris to the rest of the world. And he's right. It's an addictive game.
Mm-hmm.
I will sometimes start playing it on my computer. I'll just find a free version of it somewhere and be like, oh, look at that. 3 hours went by. Oh,
and
no.
I still haven't won.
I missed 3 meals.
Yeah.
I'm starving. Please send help. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting story. Taron Egerton is playing the main lead here. I'm not sure about his accent, about what he's doing here. That might just be me.
Yeah.
I might be a little nitpicky there. But
I think it kind of fluctuated in the trailer a little bit, I thought. It might maybe fit more once we actually get into the movie. But yeah, from the trailer, it's just kind of like, oh, it was the 80s.
Yeah, but he's doing what I think a British person thinks an American sounded like in the 80s.
Well, that sounds perfect then.
I don't think that's what they sounded like. Anyways, we'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see. Also coming out that weekend, Murder Mystery 2. This one's coming straight to Netflix. The sequel to the 2019 Netflix hit starring Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston in this international kidnapping murder case. Yes, even though it is called Murder Mystery 2, it is a kidnapping/murder case. However, kidnapping/murder mystery 2 just doesn't have the same ring to it. So
true.
Murder Mystery 2, that's where we're going here. But comedy sequels tend not to do well to begin with.
True.
Feel like that trend is going to continue here. Just saying.
It's Adam Sandler, though. He's going to, no matter what, he's going to get that audience that like his movies. And I have to admit, I like Adam Sandler.
I like him as a person.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be some Friday night, Saturday night. I'm at home, wife and kids are in bed. Yeah, turn it on.
Something to fall asleep to.
Something to fall asleep to. Yep.
Look, he is a funny individual. This is proven because right around this past weekend or 2 weeks ago, he won the Mark Twain Prize for comedy.
Yep.
But it was hard to think about that while I'm watching this trailer and I'm seeing unfunny moment after unfunny moment with a few exceptions, I guess. I shouldn't hurt on this movie too much, but with a few exceptions, and I'm just like, this guy won the Mark Twain Prize for comedy? This guy won the Mark Twain Prize for comedy. Okay, yeah. You know what? The 90s, I guess, justified that.
It's the 90s, man.
Yeah. Also coming out that same weekend, also to Netflix, Kill Boksoon, a Korean action film about a single mother who doubles as a high-profile assassin. We've seen a lot of assassin movies, one very recent. We've not seen yet one, I don't think, with a single mother. So, progress. We did it. Yeah. Mother of the Year? Discuss.
Ooh, yes.
I say yes as well.
Yes.
People are probably going to disagree with us on that one, but she's provided for the family, and she's a single mother.
Strong, independent woman.
Strong, and this is what the suffragists wanted back then. This is what they were picturing, right? I may get a lot of hate mail for that one. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to keep that one in there.
I do have to say, though, the action looks awesome.
It does.
A lot of times, some of these foreign films the action is unbelievably awesome.
I mean, we'll get more into this later on. We're going to talk about John Wick 4.
Yeah.
If they put in half of the amount of effort as they did in John Wick 4, this is going to be mind-blowing.
Yeah.
But finally, coming out this weekend, Rye Lane, coming out to Hulu. This is more of an indie film that's coming out of the UK. Two young people who just went through messy breakups try to help each other move on. One just kind of needs someone to talk to. The other one wants to steal their record back that they left at a previous boyfriend's place. This was a romantic comedy throughout most of the trailer, and then it kind of turned into another heist movie. And then I'm on board. Yeah. I was like, okay, I'm just going to watch the trailer, work on something else. Oh, we're stealing something from someone's house? Oh, hijinks ensuing. Oh, it's a comedy heist movie. Nick's on board now.
Yes. And I will say this trailer, the colors and the way that the technique of, I think just the colorization of the film looks beautiful. There hasn't been many films lately that when I've watching the trailer, I thought this film visually looks very appealing. Mm-hmm. Even if you're not interested in what's going on the screen, I think some of the colors look so good.
They definitely shot this in the most beautiful parts of the United Kingdom.
Yes.
I'll give you that for sure. But yeah, fun little heist for revenge on a messy breakup. Sign me up.
Yep. The last breakup movie. What's the last breakup movie? Good breakup movie that I watched? Midsommar. That's a breakup movie. And that's a good one.
You're not wrong.
I know.
You're not wrong.
I know.
You know you're not wrong. Okay, yeah. Little humility goes a long way there, bud.
Okay.
But let's cap things off here. Let's finish things up with number one recommends. We've talked about what's coming up here. Let's talk about some things that have come out that we think you should also check out here. I'll start us off this week. Admittedly, I wrote this down before the news story broke, so let's just rip the Band-Aid off. I'm going to talk about Creed 3. And I almost thought about changing it, but I didn't for two reasons. One, I didn't watch anything else. And two, I've talked about this before. Whenever there is sort of a scandal or something controversial with one singular person that's part of a movie franchise or just a singular movie, it's easy to look at that whole movie and just kind of avoid that here. So I'm not going to talk about Jonathan Majors. I'm going to talk about all the other people that did a lot of great work on this movie and made this movie great, that are good people. Michael B. Jordan, great actor. Directorial debut with this movie, and I got to say, I wouldn't say low expectations, but I was like, first try, I'm going to give him a little break here. Man, he directs his butt off in this movie. There are things that they do in this movie that they have not done in other Rocky movies in this entire franchise that I think were great additions, were great representation of the story here. The acting all around is great. The story is great. This one's competing for, it might be better than the first Creed. Maybe it's pretty close. And I would consider the first Creed the top of this entire Rocky franchise. So this might be competing for my favorite movie of this franchise. It's for sure so far taken my favorite movie of the year. That's all I'm going to say about that. Ryan, why don't you talk about what's your number one recommend this week?
My number one recommend this week, John Wick 4. Absolutely phenomenal movie. If you are an action buff, if you like Keanu Reeves, if you like John Wick, go watch the new film. Yes, it is a little long, but the action sequences that they make in this film are absolutely phenomenal. I love action where it's not cut, different angles. I like when it's just a nice 15, 20-second shot. 15, 20 punches are thrown, people are flipping, and it's staying on the same shot. I love that. They did a phenomenal job. Some of the side or the supporting cast were absolutely awesome. One of the casino scene was probably my favorite because it had action. It had some tense moments. You're playing on a card game. It was awesome. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, feel free to hop in. It was great. Where's it go from here? Don't know. You'll have to watch to find out.
Well, that's going to do it for us here on this episode of Popcorn Bucket List. If you have any of your own movie recommendations, be sure to let us know in the comments down below. For myself and Ryan Meyerberg, we'd like to thank you so much for watching, and we will see you at the movies.